Welcome to Chapter 3. Here you're going to learn about dominant function, the dominant chord, secondary dominants, harmonic minor chord progressions, and voice leading. And we're going to begin by talking about what the term dominant means. In music theory, each degree of the major scale has a name. So there's 7 degrees in the major scale, and there's 7 names. The first note in the major scale is called the tonic. Then you have the supertonic, the median, the subdominant, the dominant, the submedian, and then the leading note or the leading tone. Then you'd be back in the tonic. Now, it's not important that you know all of these names, but we are going to talk about the dominant, which is the name of the 5th degree of the major scale. So in the C major scale, the tonic is C, the first note in the scale, and the dominant is G, the 5th. And when you play a chord for the 5th degree, you get a G major chord, and it would be called the dominant chord. And the dominant chord has something called dominant function. And what this is kind of a natural push to the tonic chord. When you play chord progressions, the simpler they are, the more likely that they boil down to just 2 chords, the chord 1 and chord 5, the tonic and the dominant. You hear this a lot in like old-fashioned folk songs. Think of songs like Skip to My Lou, Down in the Valley, Clementine, and Buffalo Gals. They're all based on just 2 chords, a tonic and a dominant. And here's an example of an old folk song. This one is He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. I'm going to play it in the key of C, using a C chord and a G chord. That would be 1 and 5, or the tonic and the dominant. And it sounds like this. So the 5 chord has a natural lead or push to the 1 chord. And you can intensify this by playing a dominant 7th chord. So instead of just a plain G major, you'd play a G7, or maybe. The dominant 7th chord has a little bit more tension to it, and so it has an even stronger push to the tonic. And in traditional harmony, you often hear a dominant 7th used to close a progression. And here's an example of that. In C, I'm going to play a progression with C, F, and G, and I'm going to put a little close on the end. And this is based on one of the examples from the book. Sounds like this. Okay, so there's a couple reasons why the dominant chord has a natural push to the tonic chord, and it's important to understand this. So let's talk about it. The dominant chord has the leading tone in it. So in the C major scale, the 7th degree B is the leading note or the leading tone. In this case, it's the note B, and B is the 3rd of the G chord. And so having that B in there, having the leading note in there, helps this chord push to the tonic. And then if you play a dominant 7th chord, you intensify that push because adding a flat 7 in the G chord creates more tension. So normally a G chord is built G, B, D. If you play a dominant 7th, you get G, B, D, F. That's a major triad with a minor 7th. That only happens on the 5th degree of the major scale. And because that 5th degree is called the dominant, the type of 7th chord that is built from it is called a dominant 7th chord. And a dominant 7th chord has a tritone in it. A tritone, like its name implies, is 3 tones or 3 whole tones. If you play a B note and you go up 3 whole tones, 1, 2, 3, that puts you on an F. B to F is 3 whole tones or a tritone. and that interval has a lot of tension. And F to B is also a tritone. So no matter how you play a dominant seventh chord, you always have some of that tritone tension in there. And that extra tension creates even more push to the tonic chord, in this case C.